This conference will now be recorded.
Your volume's really low. We can't call.
Maria, are we going to get a copy of this PowerPoint?
Of the attachments of the Excel? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Do Alt Tab. Yes. Alt Tab. Hold Alt down and Tab. You holding Alt down? You have to hold it down. Alt. It should go there. You go. Yeah, rotate. Okay. Okay.
Right on, yeah. Thank you. I just want to touch base on the net revenue stuff on the revenue side. This is our rate currently. This does not include any tariff rate. This is the rate that is currently allowed by the state of New Mexico. All those things, any tariff rate increases, all of those can be pursued later at a later time. So this is the bare bones on that side of things. The 1 year forecast. So you got January 1. We're just going month to month, basically month 1, month to month breakdown costs. And then we have a cumulative deficit down here at the bottom, letting us know kind of where we're gonna run month 1. We did not have, we're gonna show that we're not gonna collect any money because the possibility is there that we don't collect anything for 3 months. We give them 3 months time. So the worst case scenario is no one pays till 90 days. And so we did everyone not paying till 90 days. And this is the 1 year forecast with the cumulative deficit that with the help of Councilor Hildenbrand, we were able to come up with. So with that being said, is there any questions that you guys have on this side of it? Yes, Councilman Coon.
So what is your reimbursement for Medicare and Medicaid percentage wise? Like that?
He has us on the Medicaid, Medicare percentage wise at 88%. These are billed out. We cannot charge the full tariff rate. We can only charge the allowable rate from Medicaid, Medicare. So it's going to be a less amount, but.
So column B is your percentage of revenue, your
Column B, this is the percentage, this is our
percentage of run.
percentage of people. Yeah, basically 38% of our calls are going to be
Okay,
Medicaid, 40% of our calls is going to be Medicare.
right.
We got a lot of that in this.
And you're showing an 87% expected collection.
That is what he is projecting. A little bit about these people. They said they took over a county here in the area. And he said this company now collects they're setting records for the amount they're collecting. Their proprietary system for collections is doing well. And so this, to my understanding, comes in pretty close to relation to what AMR is bringing in currently. So.
You know, with Medicare and I believe with Medicaid too, one of the things you have to remember is you don't get to bill for mileage until they go over 16 miles. And so, I mean, that's most everything in the city is going to be, especially if we have more than one place to send them from, it's going to be less than 16 miles. So you don't get to bill mileage or anything like that. So some of that, there's a lot of things in the Medicaid and Medicare system that don't favor people, lower income people picking them up. I mean, you know, it's cost shifted over strictly to the provider of the ambulance. And I think if you follow what's happening to local hospitals providing Medicaid, Medicare, the reimbursement's not enough. If you follow and you look at their stock prices, they're way down. People that run hospitals, They're way down from people who run ambulances. The stock prices are way down. And I mean, it's, their reimbursement rates don't pay them enough to get the job done and for those companies to make money. It's one of the things that, you know, it's just a case of the government cost shifting people out of business. And, you know, you just have to look at how well the companies are doing and they're not cutting it. Kind of like, one time for about 5 years, nursing homes got paid real well. And then all of a sudden they pushed it down and turned the screws down on nursing homes where, you know, every nursing home in town was being sold every other year about the way it worked. It's just because they turned the screws down and didn't pay them what it costs to provide the care that they get sued for if they don't provide. You know, with all the, you know, the number of lawyers that we turn loose and everybody suing nursing homes. I mean, that's just the way it works. So, but so this, I think, this at least we can make sure the service is provided, and if we go down this route, I think we can figure out how to make sure our residents are taken care of.
Question I have, okay, so we can't charge for mileage unless it hits over 16, but we can still charge for the pickup, or is it? Okay.
So there's their assessment fees, and we get to charge the assessment fee. And it depends on, again, back to what we were talking about, documentation. And if we don't document it right, unfortunately, we cannot charge an ALS documentation or an assessment fee or such. It all depends on our documentation and such. And so, of course, the more acute the more badly they're sick, or the worse the trauma is, takes a higher level of care to provide. And so they will be charged more according to the state tariff. And then
We provide
if it's a stub toe,
yeah.
all that goes. So we don't charge for individual. We don't break out individual billing. So we're not, oh, you got an IV bag, so it's this. It's all covered under the tariff. So just, hey, this is the assessment fee and the treatment fee, and then transport fees.
Councilman Cohen.
These guys ought to package this and sell it to all the medical providers, and I haven't looked at their books. But my discussion with several medical providers locally is they're not claiming anything high as those two numbers right there.
After I argued the same fact with this company, and he said, our provider, I'm not lying to you. And I said, okay, I'm going to go off what you tell me. When I had some conversations with people who've run the ambulance in the area, these are very realistic numbers. And so.
And there might be, because I'm not that versed in the rules for Medicaid and Medicare, that you might actually, there may be a loophole in the law to get them transported. And then after they get there, then the reimbursement rate is way down from that.
That's a great question. I'm not sure.
I was hearing numbers, and on a good month, we get 40%.
Well, and I would say based on, if you look at the gross charges, that is what you would bill out. The net charges are what's allowable. And of the allowable, then you're going to collect 88%, which is reasonable. Not on gross, but on net allowables.
So you're missing a couple of commas there in column E, line 4, 3, 4, 3. So is that 88% on your gross or your
Net,
net?
off the net.
Okay.
On the net. It's column E minus or times column G.
Well, no,
It does not, it's
he's missing commas, so
Mhm.
he missed some commas, my old eyes
Oh,
can't.
yeah,
I can't even stabilize
format that
stabilize the mouse.
cells.
Maybe it's because of the.
I just saw one, I didn't see the whole list. There you go. Now,
That makes sense.
I'm better now.
Yeah, this is, if you changed it to
See that now.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bob.
The minus billing.
The minus billing is, we took off the 10%. If they're going to charge 10%, it doesn't necessarily a cost, they just take it out of the billing. The revenue side. So that's how we adjust. That's what the minus billing is. She was asking what the minus billing was. The minus billing is taking their chunk of change out of that money. So
Or
Anybody else have questions?
3577.
Does anybody in the room have any questions about anything?
Mr. Mayor, I guess I have a question. Get this deal put together, you're gonna be able to staff it?
that's a great question. And that's unfortunate. That's a question I can't, my heart says yes, but realistically, we won't know until the day of. We worked on, part of the current ambulance setup is we've got 3 ambulances living back in our fire station. They're operating out of the fire station. And it's honestly been it's been really well received, and the camaraderie and morale is improving, and it's great. And so my hope would be that they would be willing to come work for us. They're living with us. They're operating out of the station. They're a part of the team right now. And it's going well. And I think that's going to play a positive hand into saying, can we offer you guys a job? There's not another ambulance provider. And if they want to stay living in Roswell, I think we've got a good chance of staffing the majority of this. This is their staffing numbers pretty close like. And not too long ago, I asked Mr. Prescott, so where are you guys on medics? And he said, we're full on medics. And so that's the hope. Hope is that we would be able to staff it fully.
they'll move over.
You mentioned that before, and all you just have to do is train them on fire.
We could easily use, I mean, if we didn't have the personnel, we could definitely use fire staff to help cover the ambulance, so hire overtime, whatever. We're not going to have an ambulance sitting there.
You were mentioning it's easier to hire somebody who is already a paramedic and train them on fire than it is fire to train them to be a paramedic.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's that we'll create a cross train, an avenue that they can crosswalk through and through if we want, or if they desire. If they don't desire to ever fight a fire, I don't want to put them in that position. And the same with our guys. If our guys don't want to be a paramedic and they're the ones on the line when taking care of a critical patient, I don't want to force those guys to do that. So Hobbs has specialists, and Artesia has specialists, and Portalis was looking at specialists. There's a lot of places that hire just EMTs. And so those are definitely avenues to pursue if we go down this road, we'll start pursuing what that 100% looks like. But as we sit here, it's just an option on the table.
But in any event, we should offer cross-training, all personnel in the direction.
Yeah, well, we have to cross-train on the fire department anyways. You have to be an EMT to work on the fire department. We send multiple people to paramedic school every year. We send multiple people to advanced EMT school every year anyway. That's not going to change the fire side. We will continue to do that. I say this because this is the way it is. There's a saying in the fire service, you're a fireman. You're either a fireman with an EMT card or you're an EMT with bunker boots. I'm a fireman with an EMT card. Fire is that's my side of things, where I want to be. I enjoy that line of work a little bit more, but if there's a critical patient, I know full and well I'm capable of jumping in that ambulance and taking care of them as a paramedic. And so it's just going to be the case. There'll be people who want to go both ways, but on the fire side, we already train both ways. So it's not a big deal. It'll be creating a crosswalk for them to start training in the fire side, which our training chief is fantastic. I have no doubt that we're going to get that figured out.
If they are both that way, that enhances everybody's safety that are out there.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's services, the fireman, the victim, and the EMPs, everybody is better protected. And because you never know when you're going to have to hit somebody in a movie theater that choked.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you don't know when it's really an eye opener when you have to do it.
Well, one thing that we do have to offer, and I see the light, is that, we have the we have a retirement that nobody else has.
Yeah.
And so that gives them a big boost for wanting to come over, because not many people have a funded retirement. They have 401ks and all those things, but we all know what happens to a 401k when the market crashes. And para is a lifelong retirement. So.
And all these AMR people don't have that.
They have
just whatever the company offers in terms of healthcare, and they have 401k plan. It's not a pension plan. We are close, and we have developed really good, strong relationships with AMR. And some of them are because they've developed some jobs over there that maybe they get to sit in an office or something. So they're concerned how that transition would be. But when we're talking about the EMTs and the paramedics on the trucks, some of those guys and gals are excited about that possibility of what it looks like to move over. They're excited, and they get excited. And so that time comes, we'll have to look and see what that does, and we'll continue to recruit. We got the EMT program out here, and if we're the ones running the EMS in the county, basically for the city and the county right around us, besides Dexter and Hagerman, we kind of have a monopoly. We can go and say, hey, come work for us. We are ready to take you on and work that recruitment hard out there. Now they get two choices. They can either be a fireman, a firefighter, or be an ambulance worker. And so,
Question, how the county, is the county going to give any money for this?
I have not spoke to the county. I believe, I know we've had a conversation over this.
Yeah, so council, the county right now choosing 20%, and they've suggested they're willing to do the same in the future, but they, no promises. Budget dependent, and we don't have that money.
Yeah, okay.
They're 20% of what?
The 20% of the subsidy is what they pay her.
So they matched 20% of the 1.4?
Yeah, that's their plan. This is the verbal we've got.
20% of the
180.
Or when we get into the business, it's going to take 3.7.
Yeah.
To equip it and operate it for a year. It's 3.7.
Over double it.
It's double. This county going to sit on that.
They talked to them about that.
Because these numbers are pretty solid. Here's what Mr. Fuller has done. He's done a good job putting this together. And so these numbers are solid as to what the real costs are. The real costs are the startup and the equipment. Otherwise, this thing operates at about a $20,000 a month loss based on these numbers. So it's almost a break even at that point in time. It's just the equipment and the startup costs. We've got to find a way to get those covered. And if the county's talking 20% of 1.4, that's $280,000. That's a shortfall.
Well, when the conversation was happening, if I'm wrong, we were overdue at the time.
Right.
It was the 1.4. And we'll make, I know those guys. I'll go out there and sit down.
No, I think, well, they haven't seen what these costs are.
No, I mean, this is the first time we've really,
And
Adam, this is the third time we've looked at it. These are reasonable numbers now. Before, we were working through and changing the numbers.
And, when we look at all this, we're in a time crunch where we have to get it done. Yeah, I think the county will stand up. They know what it's like we had an ammonia truck or whatever got a leak or whatever up there, and where'd they come from? I mean, that's a hell of a long ways up there to send all those people. And so, I really feel that the county will be willing to step up. I mean, they understand where we are. And with this level of quality of people providing the service, it means they're going to feel good about being protected. I think we'll get almost all of the AMR people come over. And I think, they've been what they're used to. So I think we'll get a good level of quality of service that we're going to be providing. And so I think they have very little to complain about when we get it. Now, the equipment and everything else, that we're going to have to figure out how to pay for all that stuff. If you start looking at this, the hole we're in, it's going to take an awful lot just to get us out. And if you look at the hole we're in countywide on what available cash we have, I mean, as David can tell us all where we are on any kind of cash crunch on getting, having expendable cash for grants and everything else that we're trying to get. So there's some serious stuff, but all in all, I really think the quality of care will be maintained, at least equal to or better than what we have now. And so I really feel good about turning it over to the fire department. Because, you know, those guys, when I had my experience with them, I'm going to tell you the level of care that my friend received was absolutely phenomenal. And I have, I could never give enough praise to the fire department and what because they told me that my friend never survives. No one, Dr. Wolf said that no one survives three heart stoppages without significant damage, and he's still walking around. And so, you know, driving and so, you know, the care that those people can provide is really good in our fire department.
Rest assured, I believe, I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, and I think, I know for a fact the capabilities of the members of the Roswell Fire Department, and we work very closely with AMR, the level of care is never going to go down. It will only continue to get better. And we worked a serious call yesterday, and I watched a group of men and women perform at an incredibly high level and would save the life of this young kid flawlessly, without hesitation. The level of care is never going to go down.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's an idea of who's running the service, and there's always unknowns if someone else is running that. And so it gives us that control.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add one. The key to this entire, any service like this is the medical direction. We have full support of our medical director, Dr. Wolf. And it's phenomenal. Our service, I see, provides a higher level of care than many communities do because of our medical director and the trust that he has for the staff on the ground. So they're able to do different drugs and things like that. They cannot do in other parts of the state. State's medical direction, but we can do it here. So that speaks highly, I think, to the forward thinking of our medical director, who's on board 100% service in the fire department doing the service, and his willingness to put his license on the line and operate his service.
Councilor Arnold, and then
I'm just seeking clarification. As always, great presentation. Love the information, and I had no doubt that, you know, we will get these numbers right. I don't think it's a bad idea. Again, I think my main concern and focus is the raising of the GRT. I think that's what we were actually, so that's really what I'm interested in talking about, because whatever you're lining up, spot on. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, it's all great, the information is great and everything else, but my concern is the timeline. Timeline as far as how long is it going to take us to initiate this, and how long is it going to take to start getting money in, and how long do we have a contract with AMR before they shut it down or walk away or whatever the case may be?
Well, we're presently under contract to the end of this fiscal year. So we've got from now till then, make up our mind. And on the revenue side, if we do nothing, then this can't happen. We just don't have enough room in the budget. Janie's got it there in front of her. If I say something wrong, you chime in.
Well, and yes is waiting.
There's a 180-day out provision in the contract. It's formed when you're renewable for the first year. So if we don't do, as far as the timeline goes, there's no way to set up for next fiscal. So we need to plan on at least 1.4 million in off the top general revenue subsidizing next year. So this will probably be starting in fiscal 26.
So does this mean that we will continue with AMR for another fiscal year or maybe two?
Another, at least 6 months of the next fiscal year, depending on how quickly we transition and purchase all the equipment.
And to answer the second part of your question, whatever we decide to do on the gross receipts question, we make a decision, we've got to do it by the end of the month, because we've got to send notification to the state, and it will not be enacted until January. And you all know that before we ever see a nickel of that new revenue will be March. So you've already.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so to break it up a little differently, it depends how we get started. So the city's cash balance is not massive, so we have to dip into something. If the BRT increases, if it's a full BRT increase, we'll have enough cash after the first year to buy it.
But we're talking about 1/8 of 1%, right?
Well, if we do 5/16, we'll be able to buy it. Yeah, if we do the full amount the law allows us, we don't have to borrow anything, we don't have to deplete any cash reserves. We could have enough money with at least 7 months. So we'd have enough money to pay AMR, buy all the equipment, and start hiring people within the first year. If we do the 1/8, we would be, well, you'd have to go into reserves. Or some. Switch on express.
On this page, the red numbers are how much the tax was done.
And then go over all these projections. Mr. Norface, to your point, we don't know the status of AMR in terms of being a national company and as a growing concern in terms of how financially stable are they, what kind of shape are they in with their business model. We know that what we've seen going from 165,000 annually to $2.6 million is what they wanted, negotiated down to 1.38 million. We know that that is a concern, and we're hearing that across the nation, across the state, particularly in Florida as well. So a lot of municipalities are in the same boat, and we're all wondering what's going to happen with AMR. We don't know what the timeline of that is.
So the Moody's has downgraded the junk bond status, and they have 3 billion calls within the next 18 months. So it's not impossible to see a situation where they're in a liquidation retainership, and we're going to have potentially lost service here, because when your company goes bankrupt, you hemorrhage employees.
And being the devil's advocate, if they decide to overnight walk away, where does that leave the fire department as far as EMTs are concerned?
People will get to the hospital, we'll be very candid. Also get patients taken care of. But if they left or whatever overnight, it would be our due diligence to provide that service on the city. And so we would get people to the hospital. We'd be in a world with her real quick.
Councilman Ware, I think if that's what happens and they close down all around, and everybody's going to be out there looking, all the places that are closed are going to be out there looking to buy ambulances. And there's not going to be ambulances to be bought that are new. And so, it's going to be a crash for everything when we get into a box. If this way, if we can go through this way, at least we have our staff and stuff are put together, and if they happen to go under, you can at least be able to probably buy the equipment that you have here now. We can buy that, so we wouldn't have any major disruptions of not having ambulances and things,
Well,
you know, you'd hope.
you're hoping,
Bankruptcy one.
Yeah,
you're hoping that the judge will let you sell off some assets, because generally, whenever you're file bankruptcy, then everything's frozen. And you got to wait for everybody to file their paperwork, and notices got to go out to all the people that owe money. And then 6 months, 8 months, a year later, the judge will make a decision that, yeah, you can go ahead and start liquidating assets. The other thing I'm looking at is we have a small period of time here to be proactive instead of getting in that reactive mode. The other thing is that's lurking in the back of my mind, and I don't know if anybody in the room knows, but if I ordered 5 ambulances tomorrow, how long before we could get them delivered? Does anybody know that answer? Is it 6 months, 8 months?
3 years.
3 years.
That was gonna be my question.
There's ways around that. So we can buy stock
Carlsbad may
units.
give us some too, right?
We can buy stock units. Carlsbad normally gets a unit a year. Maybe be able to get another one from them. We have very good, strong working relationships with Dexter and Heckerman. They've got some older units, but again, people will get to the hospital. Stock units, the fire engines we just purchased, all 4 of those are what they call stock units. They were units well built. They're built for the purpose of, hey, let's take them to some shows. We'll show people the capabilities of these things. That exists for ambulances too. And there's several manufacturers. There are stock units available. A lot of people choose not to go with those because it's not exactly what they want. Will it serve our need? It will 100% serve our need. So it depends on the availability of stock units, and different sales reps will have access to different manufacturers of those. And so we bought fire trucks from Siddons Martin. They represent 4 or 5 different manufacturers. There's the one that Hobbs buys from, represents another 2 or 3 different manufacturers. And so again, but if they go under or out, here we are, everyone's going to be hitting up Cox units. And so they're going to go off the shelf quick.
Let's rehash the timeline just a little bit. Okay. So the first 90 days from 1st of October is just dead time. We're not going to have any cash. We can't do anything about it anyway. Then it'll be another 90 days on the other side before you see the first dollar. And actually, we probably, realistically speaking, can't even get into the marketplace with cash until a year from now.
Mm-hmm.
And then that'll be a limited number. I won't be buying a full fleet. And even if you buy what you're referring to as a stock unit, whatever they got sitting on the lot, you know daggum well by the time, and I don't know if they come equipped with the lights and the sirens, and we got to fit radios and stuff. So from today, you're looking at a year, maybe a year and a half, if everything goes exactly right.
To put some understanding of when you buy an ambulance, it comes with normally, and you can negotiate what it comes with, but the lights, the sirens, the whole package. We would be responsible on the sheet one. We chose to do gurneys, the cots ourselves. It's cheaper for us to do that. We don't have to deal with the manufacturer's markup on that. And so we chose to do that on our own because it was cheaper. And so we get that from a different vendor, but we pay basically radios, and all the equipment that goes into it would be ours. They may come with one big oxygen bottle. That would be the only thing they probably come with.
Yeah, you got to have a computer station put in it.
All that's on us.
So it takes time. We've got an excellent provider here that handles that, does a good job for us. I worked with them. They came whenever I was on the county commission, and they do an awesome job for us. But still, it takes time to get all that specialized, because it's all specialized. You got to get the right frequencies in the radios. You got to get the right terminal for the computer. You got to get all that stuff, which is another procurement stumbling block. And I don't know what the availability of the radios are. I don't know if anybody's got 5 of them on the shelf somewhere.
Radios are a month out.
Okay.
For the most part.
Well, you just keep
Every step has a stumbling block.
You got a month here, 2 more weeks here, whatever the deal is, and I don't know, we got a chance, but it is gonna be hard to make up to get where we need to get, possibly when we need to get there. Starting today.
Councilman Howison, you had your hand.
So I was gonna ask about the timeline, but
Okay. Councilman Foster.
Well, I've been an advocate for this for a long time anyway. When I start looking at the 516 tax, I see that within the first year, it pays for itself. Well, then the next year and the next year, and it's really hard for me to pass the tax just so that for 1 year. But I know how it's written. But one of the things that I was looking at is you put this as a public safety tax, that the surplus afterwards can go to the fire department, can go to the police department. Then we're looking at something that I think is a lot more sellable than just an ambulance tax. Because then you're looking at, we're always going to need more cars. We're always going to need more fire units. We're always having to dip into GRT and other sources to pay for those. Well, if we can use this to take that, then it takes a load off the general funds for some of it. And we sell it as a public safety instead of just an ambulance tax.
I agree. I think there was some discussion, if I recall, maybe.
yeah, I think we talked about that. Just making it
Let's just take it public
And
safety.
then it hits all of those units and then it just helps us so that we.
Go to any of the departments.
Exactly.
Right, public safety.
Yeah, I agree with that. We build our pool to wherever it needs to be for this and then spread the money out.
I don't have a problem with that.
So because there'll be enough. If we do the 316s, there's enough to fill that bucket up right away. Or 516s, that bucket's going to get filled real quick.
5/16
It's going to get you $4.8 million.
it's gonna be a struggle for the first year, and then it'll be.
I don't agree with you, Counselor. That'll fill that bucket. He's saying it's going to take a year to year and a half to get there. So we will be A-okay. Because it's going to take.
At the end of fiscal year 25.
It'll be fine. It's going to be fine because it's going to take $2.9 million to get it started. Well, or $3.5 million to get you through the first 3 months. And if that $4.8 million, divide that by 12, that's $400,000 a month. You're there. So I have a difference of opinion about what you think the struggle is going to be. I think it's going to be there.
One of the things that we have to, on a public safety tax, if we do that, one of the things we have to look at our police fleet as well. I mean, that thing is really pretty aged and now the legislature's good about funding police units. And not a lot of other things, but they're good about that. So that's one thing, but we're still so far down on the quality of equipment that our officers are driving. I think there's 11 or 17 units that we need, really.
I got some questions of the fire chief. You mentioned the police department.
Yeah.
Chief.
Yes, sir.
So how many units that are considered emergency units do you have in your fleet out there? I know it's your next level down from you, for instance, is older than 2012. Little pickups and Suburbans, Tahoes, whatever it is you got.
For a quick answer, all of them go.
And how many is in the fleet?
There's only one that's not.
And I was talking to one of your partners in crime, so to speak, and his unit had 243,000 miles, I believe he told me. It's not just police cars.
Well, that's why I'm saying, it's a lot easier sold as a public safety and
You won that argument. I kind
Just tell them
of.
to go ahead and bloat.
That's all of this. I never had a problem with that.
Under Counselor, if that's what sounds like the consensus, how would you like that drafted? So would you like to say ambulance maintenance service, ambulance staff, bucket, and then public safety, or, and I would say like smaller bucket, like what are anticipated losses on the year?
Just call it all.
Just all public safety.
Public safety.
Safety.
I mean, the intent is to fund the ambulance first and then get to a point where we divide it. We need to, and we make up for the rest with how we've been making up for the rest.
I think his question is, the way the ordinance that I saw it last was that it had a $5 million cap in it, or floor, depending on how you
Yeah,
look
so
at
it
it.
sounds to me like what we really need is.
It's a lot easier because we don't need it. We don't need a cap. We just, if it's public safety, it's public safety.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, we decide each year how it's going to be divvied up, how it's needed.
So is it
By
for equipment or is it
told
for
us.
personnel? Are you going to stick that in as employment paychecks, or is that strictly going to be for
It's needed for those agents.
equipment?
I guess. I mean, you can do that. The other part of that, there's a second part to that that says, or, correct me if I'm wrong, or was it 3 times the operational cost?
2 times the losses.
Two times the losses. I mean, it was a double, it had a double set on it. And when you're starting a new operation of this size, until you get a year, maybe 18 months under your belt, you're not going to have a good feel for what that loss picture is really going to look like.
Right.
But I see it here, and I'm not quabbling that.
No, that's 100% the truth. You know,
Whenever you roll something out and you start using it, you do a lot of this.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. Counselor Best's question statement kind of made me think of this. The only real concern that I have that is an absolute unknown is that hypothetically, if the fire department is to take over the ambulance service, the staffing that we're going to get to bring in from AMR or even possibly other places, that's an unknown. But the biggest unknown as far as funding the whole system is once we take it over and it's out, once it falls under fire department, city rules and regs, now we have to man them 24/7. And the overtime that can generate, we have no way to know what it is until we've done it for a year or two.
Yeah.
That's the biggest concern that I have as far as how we try to factor funding.
Let me ask you one more question.
Okay?
We bring all these people in with your present facilities. Can you house all these people?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
We might need to do some small minor adjusting, but luckily, thankfully, years ago, they were thinking ahead and making preparations for something like this to occur someday.
Well, that's refreshing, but you and I both know that you're going to need something, and in construction, it ain't getting any cheaper. So
You know, in judging from discussions we had at 1 o'clock, the enterprise fund basically should be self-sustaining as well. You know, the water, sewer, and that stuff should be self-sustaining. So this, in one respect, if you can include personnel, you know, it's something that's there. So that, I mean, but I don't know. You just have to watch on the personnel, but we never lose track of the equipment needs that we have. You know, fire trucks, a lot, I mean, you have to have certain, to keep your ratings up, you have to have certain numbers of equipment that are within, you know, a pumper truck's been for what, 20 years, and a tanker's worth 25. Anyway, so, but you can have backup stuff as long as you have to have the first responder has to be new equipment. And so that's one thing to look at on that. But, you know, for second truck there doesn't have to be necessarily, you know, the newest thing on the block.
Plus the age of the tires.
Well, yeah, but we should be taking care of maintenance on stuff like that.
I just thought that was a strange thing that had the age of the tires depends, which makes sense. If the tire blows when the truck's going down the road, it's not getting to where we need it to get. But that's one of the things they look at when they go to.
And those can happen at any time.
Mhm.
So, question for the chief, how is this going to affect the override? Yes, or kind of like.
Yes, it absolutely, there's no way around it. It'll add to you. Because I mean, essentially, simply put, you're talking adding roughly another shift to the fire department and number of people to be able to cover around it.
Now, will the ambulance run the 96 or the 48 on, 96 off?
That's, I think, the hope, especially if we're going to cross them. Yes, we get to where there's some FLSA stuff that we'd have to really look at with help of legal to make sure we're meeting those guidelines. But the standard across the industry is the ambulance people work the same with the fire. That's what majority of everyone else does.
So now, Ms. Janie, so if anybody doesn't know, she has to send the state by the 29th, right? So she has to send the state what we're going to charge or what we're going to use for gross receipts tax this year. By the end of this month, it has to be sent to the state what our.
Starting in or anything that starts in January.
So that's why we had to have this meeting now, because we have to get some idea that if it's going to be.
Well, and if we don't do it at all, then the next opportunity for an increase to start is in July.
And and whatever passes has to have 6 votes. So, I mean, just so everybody, we're all in the same boat. And if it doesn't pass, we might as well, I don't know that we need to do anything with, if we don't figure out how to put all this together. And we do have some issues on the cash flow of our regular budget that we have now on any kind of grants or anything else. We do have issues with that, according to Janie. So that's where we go. Yes, ma'am.
So just the constituents I spoke with, that have heard about this and have approached me, they're very, not that very happy. I hate raising taxes. They're not happy for a tax increase, but they're willing to accept the tax increase for public safety.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. That's the way I feel it.
That's feedback I've been getting.
Yep, yes, ma'am.
So again, you're going to raise these taxes for public safety, which would be your police, your fire, your ambulance, correct? Again, are you going to use those funds, because those are separate unions and they can negotiate? Are you going to use those higher taxes besides equipment and stuff to get? Are you going to use those higher taxes to pay overtime and raise and let the unions negotiate higher pay? Because if that money will be there, they have that opportunity. Is that going to be in the ordinance that these two unions can negotiate for that particular money in that public safety? I call it a line item. So you need to make that decision before you send it to the council floor for the vote. I agree with Juliana. The public's going to bite at that better than they're going to bite at being thrown in the general fund. Because you're right, our public safety, and I've been fighting it for years, our public safety is our number one situation in Roswell. So you need to decide probably today, if you're going to have Hess, write that into the ordinance that that fund strictly is for equipment, or can also be used to negotiate with the unions.
I don't know if we need to write it into the fund. If it's public safety, it's public safety. Their salaries and all that are part of public safety. The problem with that, though, and one of the things that we've always had is, when the police came to us and said, hey, we need more money, well, that's great, but so does our water department. So does, everybody is important to us.
And that's what I'm saying. Will a percentage of this public safety tax go to union, to the employees?
He's got started in 2006, he's got 3.9 simple figures, employee in 26, moving up to $4 million in 2030. So all of these figures are based on the cost of those employees. So what you're talking about, if I understand you correctly, is that you want to line item that stuff out. So where are you going to pick up, where do you want to pick up that cost?
That's what I'm saying, that you need to, in my opinion, if you're going to separate the ambulance, the fire and the police all in a public safety situation with this tax, maybe you should go to the general fund, and what they budget needs to come out of that general fund and go into that public safety pot. And that's what they're paid out of. That's what their cars come out of, so forth and so on. So your public safety is going to be all over in this pot. And when they budget, that's going to come out of the general fund and go to that pot. So it's not mixed, because you've got a separate tax going into a public safety pot.
I think this tax here is to supplement what we're doing now. It's not to pay for the whole public safety. This is just a supplement to pay for the ambulance service and additional requirements that may come along that the general fund cannot fund on its own.
Then your union's going to want to tag into it. They're going to say, you've got it sitting there, you've got it in a pot. Union's going to say, you can give us our whatever raise because we've got it for public safety.
I don't know why this is a union issue right now.
Well, it's not a union.
Please help me understand that.
What I'm saying is it's going to be in a savings account to help all of this.
Right.
And instead of the employees getting a raise all the way across the board, which they really didn't get that much this year, they are specialized people.
Right. Right.
They deserve that money. If we are taxing and you're sitting here saying we're taxing our people for this specialized service, police, fire, ambulance, mainly ambulance at this point, these people need to be paid whatever AMR or national is getting, which you have up there. I can't see it because it's too far away, which you have up there. In other words, they may come in behind you and it's not in your ordinance, and they may say, you know what, we're specialized and we want to dip into that specialized tax that you're taxing for our public safety because we are public safety and we have these specialized licenses. And maybe I'm being nitpicky. Maybe I'll shut up. I'm only got 3 minutes left.
Well, I would just say that, when we don't have in water, wastewater and trash, when we don't keep our rate structures and are covering the cost at any time of all the employees, and where do those rates come from? In water or sanitation or any of that, all those come out of, if our rate structure is not up to date with the cost of increases of equipment, money, salaries, everything else, then it comes out of the general fund. And so I think that's one of the things when we talk about enterprise funds, we try to keep them, they take care of their own and they don't, the salaries and everything else, and doesn't go and take out of the general fund. I think we're going to have, this is going to be something that's just the same way that we have, but we as councilmen and stuff we're in charge of how we spend the money, and we're going to have to be the ones that stand up to them and tell them no, and we can't do that. And it's true with anything as we go through there. There's always some way of saying that all the costs. I don't think because of what we're doing that these are all the costs that we're talking about that go to fire and stuff. Now these are just what we're talking about with how to get out of our wreck that we have with the ambulance. Yes, ma'am.
For police, their budget right for fiscal year 24 is $14.7 million, and fire's 12.2. This is going to be just enough year after year to cover operating expenses, if that's all you looked at, operating and capital. So I think there's it'll never get big enough to where it would be worth it going into personnel, because their personnel is 11 million for fire or for police and 9.6 million for fire a year.
This would alleviate pressure on the general fund.
Right.
That's kind of the point.
Right.
Right now, we're looking at drawing down the general fund in terms of paying AMR 1.38. And you're exactly right there. City government authority controls the budget, controls what's being negotiated.
So, Mr. President, Council, what unions are up for negotiation as far as salaries are concerned?
So we, my understanding, we have 3 unions. We have blue collar is coming up in December.
I can correct you.
We're currently in negotiations with fire and police at this time. We're actually going to mediation with police, and we'll start blue collar in December.
So I think the answer is pretty obvious, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The salary increases, is that a issue at this point in time?
With the unions, yes, sir.
But it's not just union members that get it, right? Whatever they get, the ones that are non-union will get it as well. And in all three unions.
The city sets in our budget every year what our steps or COLA is going to be for the year. And the state law, and I wish Hess was, it could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the state law and the negotiation is that the union is only allowed to negotiate for what's been budgeted. So if the council budgets a 30% increase, they can negotiate up to that 30% increase, then we don't have no power to go over that. That's why the council sets our direction before we go into negotiation. What do we have? We do what we have this year, and that's where we're at.
It's always based on budget, approved budget by the government authority. And then typically, whichever union it is, they're negotiating for the whole, the entire group of their union member, paying dues, paying member.
And we don't have fair share anymore, right?
No, sir.
I think that went out the window.
Yes, sir. Right when the law sunsetted at that one time, it went away.
You go into the out of vested suit.
Yes, sir, Councilman Corn. We're on the virtual seats, is that correct? Yes, sir. Okay. So, as you give me, where'd he go?
He stepped out for a contract issue.
Okay, well, Janie, then that puts you on the spot.
Even with money, so she should do it.
Mayor, I'm sorry, they're doing some work over at the visitor center. Somebody's driving a red Highlander. They need to move it. There's probably, I'm sure it's the Pinata Fest, but I just thought we'd ask him here.
Okay.
No?
Okay. So, Janie, once again, what was the gross receipts on the gross receipts tax table for Roswell in June of 2023? Do you know? Do you remember?
What do you mean?
The rate. I'll let her off the hook.
Before it went down?
Yeah.
8.7 something.
I thought it was seven too.
Huh?
I thought it was in the seven. I thought it was in the 7%, like 7.8 or something.
7.85%.
7.85. Okay, and it went down, and if we enact a gross receipts increase of 5/16 effective for January of 2024, because it went down, what's the new rate going to be?
7.5833.
5.833?
Yes.
That's in January of 24?
That's where we're at right now.
Oh, we're right now at 7 what?
0.5833, I think.
Okay. So what will it be in starting January of 2024 if we enact the full 15/16?
3875 or something.
Yeah.
I don't have a calculator.
Well,
3875.
okay.
Maybe less.
It's gonna be close to 7.9.
It's gonna go up 0.3125.
Okay. So
That's what we currently at.
somebody got a sheet,
7.8958.
7833. Is that with the full 5/16?
Yes, sir. 7.833 is what it's gonna be with this 5/16.
Yeah. 8958.
That's what it is right now.
No, I went down.
It would go to 7.8958.
Correct.
So,
It's a little bit of an increase from where it was at, but not much.
okay, slight increase over what we were paying.
What we had
What we
prior
had.
to the reduction.
So,
I think it's a 16 different bump.
okay. Well, my point is that it's not an erroneous amount if you look at the past.
Well, and it's way under, how many of our people go to Lubbock and pay 8.5 or?
Albuquerque.
Yeah, Albuquerque, yeah. So.
Well,
Ruidoso.
yeah. Well, all those tourist towns, they jack them up for all they're worth because it's not continuous income. It's got so many peaks and valleys in their income stream. They got to do something to try to level the playing field. Well, my point is two things. Looking at the budget that you all, I think, understand. I pay close attention to that sucker. I really try to understand it. And with the possible grants out there that are going to be available to us. Okay. Now, these grants are reimbursable. The problem is you got to spend your money up front, get the project completed, file your paperwork to get reimbursed. We've got some potential grants coming down the road that's going to bridge a fiscal year, which really makes it a mess. Because we don't have the cash available to fulfill the obligations of the grant if we accept it to do things like water, sewer, streets, that kind of stuff. We don't.
Typically heavy hitters, federal funding, reimbursement. Federal funding is almost all reimbursement based. It does have the cash balance. Having that is not.
And some of them are matching grant, so they take your 20% cut out. So I'm just talking about the best grant you can get is totally 100% reimbursable, but it's not 100% reimbursable because you spent your money, you're waiting for it to come back in, and the cost of money is borne by you. So it's not free money. There's always a cost associated with it. Not to mention the administrative costs, Janie and her team's time, the manager's time, and whoever's administering the grant, their time. That's all just part of it. That part's not reimbursable. You just eat that. So grants are not free. They're very helpful, but they're not free. Anybody tells you that, well, I got this 100% reimbursable. Well, yeah, no point. But you're going to have 3 to 5% expense regardless. Just covering all the bases you got to cover to get there, get it done, and get reimbursed. So some people forget that. So anyway, okay. I think I'm done, Mayor, unless somebody says something to get me thinking again.
Hey,
Please go.
You and I will have a talk in a little while.
well, I guess in where we are, do we have a motion to?
No more motion.
No more.
That's a workshop, that's right. So we'll have, Hess will probably direct, have to have him write a resolution to go up to 5/16.
It's to be an ordinance.
It's an ordinance.
Ordinance, whatever, to go up to the 5/16 for public safety. So is that pretty much agreeable with everybody? I mean, because it's going to take all of us to get it. So.
It's going to be $4.8 million. That will generate.
Yeah. The numbers in here on red are based on prior year actuals and the projected GRT for 2024.
Yeah.
Depending on what actually comes in, that could be higher or lower than what it is, but it gives you an idea of what each 16th would have generated over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So we'll have a resolution to do that at the next, at the council meeting, and that gives you direction to write your letter to the state, so you can do that today and get it done.
Well, I have to attach the vote with it and all of that, so, yeah, I need minutes and all of that. So.
I have all the paperwork.
So when's our next council meeting? Is
We were discussing that.
now the 14th,
14.
Two of us going to be gone.
well, there'll be 2 gone, so we'll have to have a special meeting to make sure we have the votes. So that'll have to be,
Maybe I'll be in Nevada.
yeah.
Can you, I mean, you go to meeting.
Mike and I are leaving in the morning at 6 o'clock. You want to come go? Bring you back on the 18th.
Not to Nevada. I'm already tired of this heat here.
We were there.
That may be. They got more cement though.
Yeah.
So then shall we postpone our meeting till the 20, or what's the, that give you time to do that?
September 9th,
Saturday.
September 19th, Public Safety has canceled their meeting. That would be a good day. We also have September 27th with General Services being at 4:30. We can do it.
First.
It really would. 27th doesn't give you much time.
Well, she would have to get the minutes done and to me by Friday. So
Well,
I have to have your stuff done.
by Friday.
yeah, I have surgery on
What's the date?
20th. I could be here late that night, but I do not know what time. Because I have surgery on mine.
Friday this 22nd.
What's the 21st look like?
Employee,
We take no.
whatever thing on the 22nd, right?
Want to get
There's AI now, who actually listen to your meeting and give you the highlights, do it for you. I know.
And that,
I use AI at work all the time. That's like, I used it for our voice recordings and the voices are all great.
We'll have to talk.
Yeah, that could take some hard work.
I still need to take notes, but you know, just in case AI fails or something.
Yeah,
Structure.
26th would probably be a good day now. We were contemplating a special workshop on the 6th as well, so action on the back end of that.
What is that workshop for?
The rate
The Roswell Water Utility Rate Study.
Right, Melita, that's the 26th.
That is correct.
What time is that?
The 26th at 6 at the Recreation Center.
Who do we want?
We can meet this.
Robert Glenn's water study.
What was what was wrong with the 25th? Do we have something?
We're expecting.
We said it was infrastructure. What's the 28th?
But we could do it after and just.
Right.
Yep.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yep.
And then I'm just thinking. Give them some time to get the minutes and everything, make sure we have it in by the 29th.
Right.
If it passes.
It's pretty great.
When's the water,
She's resource.
water deals on the 26th?
Sir,
The water deal
It's on the 26th.
the workshop, the water rate study is on the 26th.
at 6
The
o'clock?
rec center?
Yes, sir, at the rec center. That's amazing.
We have that email out.
No, we just got confirmation for the room, the location and stuff. So, but yes.
Okay, then we'll have a special meeting on, is Monday, all right?
25th,
25th?
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
So the
What
14th.
time is your infrastructure? 4?
That's on the 27th.
No.
Isn't that right?
26.
25th at 6 o'clock is when they want their special city council meeting.
But we are gonna have the 14th still?
25.
Or are we?
Yeah.
Like the 25th. You guys are talking about.
I don't know. That's Ken.
Do we need to have a meeting on the 14th?
Is there something
We
we
don't,
push you
we push.
Well, that would be pushing the whole city council meeting that you're used to for the last 65 years on the second Thursday of every month. When was the last time that was done?
If it's a consensus, this is going to be approved. Can't this go on Thursday's meeting? Can Hess get it written that fast?
What stopped you from participating
We
via
have to get,
telephone?
we have to get the agenda posted Monday.
Be in the middle of an airport.
Because y'all be traveling then?
No, we're going around.
Jess has to get it done before Monday.
You just have to take a break from what you're doing and get this business as city attended to as well.
You can
I don't
promise
know.
me it won't be, I don't know if my cell phone will stay
I know you always put everything on the agenda
6-hour meeting.
and you, so put it on like.
Is that everything going on that day?
For a workshop,
Yeah, well, I don't know. Wednesday,
Yeah, so if they call.
we hit the ground on Saturday, some of us, and we're going right to the airport before noon.
6 o'clock here is 5 o'clock there.
3 hours.
Can you put yourself in a position that you will be able to get?
They go till they can't go anymore if they have to.
Yeah, but you have to sit there and watch every single second of everything.
on the 14th.
Well, I'm not going there to watch their races. I'm going there to get in on the work side of
I'm
things.
just saying is maybe you need to find a way to, if you can find a way to make yourself flexible.
Well, what we're talking about is if she puts it on the first thing on the agenda, then they know to call in right at 6, so get their work done.
Yeah, that's the question. Could you break away at 6 and have about an hour?
They're best. We got a computer, maybe we can go find a quiet place to.
Your
for
meeting
all
starts.
all of us could need to be there.
We have a quorum.
In Reno, it'd be 5 o'clock there. I don't have it.
3,
Of course.
5. We'd have to make sure be there. We won't have a quorum this week. If they're only there for the first item,
And you lose your quorum.
we lose a quorum, if more, so.
Well, you're a
Well-
council of 9 now until somebody gets appointed.
Five.
Majority is, they have a
You
majority.
doesn't count.
Would you need 6?
Got to do whatever you direct me to do, Mr. Mayor. I make no promise.
Well,
Would you need 6 if you only have 9?
Well, it'd be 5 would be.
Yeah, you only need 5.
You would be 5, right?
I mean,
you have
it's
to
just-
have,
We got plenty of
where's
time.
Hess, but I think you have to have 6.
Yeah, you gotta have.
You have 6.
Just because you have a vacant one, it still is a seat.
There's still a seat.
Because
You still gotta have 6.
So, Okay, would you rather do it on the 25th? How much?
Structure, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, infrastructure can move if we have to. I mean, I'm not.
Well, I don't even know what's going to be on infrastructure because you don't have Jason here.
So I would suggest the 19th.
Huh?
The 19th. Public safety, there's not a meeting on that day. Public safety's been canceled. They will all be back from Reno, so we should have everybody here.
That's before your surgery.
Well, yeah, I just have to go there. I just got to be there the next morning.
Yeah.
It'll be as early as we do it because I have to drive to Lubbock if I'm 5 o'clock in the morning, if I have to be there. So, all right, well, then we'll do the meeting on the 19th as what?
Special meeting.
4 o'clock or that 4 o'clock, all right, or 3 or 4 o'clock? When do you?
A moved council meeting or a special meeting?
Special meeting. Special. Just the special.
So, okay, what about the council?
So what about the council meeting?
Yeah.
We won't have a forum.
Oh, we will, if Angela Moore goes, we'll have a quorum.
If she goes.
If she goes.
Yeah.
Oh, Mary Moses.
With just 2 of you missing.
2 missing won't have a quorum.
Yeah.
We can't move the regular city council meeting to September the 19th. Add this item.
I would assume we can move it.
But then we're pushing into later in the evening and you got to be at Lubbock.
Whatever, I'll drive all night.
I'd still rather have a city council meeting on the 14th, have this as a special meeting on the 19th.
I'm with you.
Try to make sure, caller, that Angela Moore shows up.
Okay, that works.
All right, so
What time?
The council meeting?
The special city council.
At 4.
At 4 o'clock on the 19th.
Infrastructure's at 4:30
On the 19th.
on the 19th.
Infrastructure's on the
We can do
25th.
6. They're usually over by an hour.
Wait for the emails.
Special city council.
and then we'll have our regular meeting on the 14th.
Yes. And then the special on the 19th for this, and then
Time on the 19th.
at 6 o'clock.
No. He said 4 o'clock.
He said 4
Oh,
4 o'clock. 4
on
o'clock.
the special.
we have infrastructure at 4:30.
They should be done with just a few.
On the 19th is infrastructure? I thought it was on the 25th.
Chairman.
Yeah. Because infrastructure meets on Mondays, not on, infrastructure meets on Mondays, not on Tuesdays.
You're right.
So that's the 19th is 4 o'clock.
And she shows up to that meeting.
Okay.
So the 19th was public safety and it's been canceled.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
So we can have.
Yeah, I'm not going to put it down.
A lot of clarity here.
I'm just wanting to be early because if he's going to have to drive to Lubbock.
Yeah. I just look really weird inviting him.
You will. Because I got a silly question.
Yeah.
You said you weren't going to talk anymore.
Yeah, you said.
Yeah, you-
Well,